Schism is what's happening throughout history. Got to look at history. Schisms happen, and we put the term into religious context. Now, whether you believe the story or whatnot, just look at it as the story. You know, the Jesus story. Jesus guy comes along, supposedly. But he's a Jew, right? He's a Jew. And he sets a different path, a direction, a different bit of doctrine, idea, philosophy. Different than mainstream Judaism. Jesus is a schism away that becomes Christianity. Even though he himself, at that time, he was Jewish. He was a Jewish guy. He starts a discussion. It's a schism. Then the perversion of the whole story becomes humans. Because these Christians then use this storyline as an excuse, and for over 1,000 years, Christians brutalized, terrorized Jews for over 1,000 years before Nazis showed up. Nazis were kind of like the full venting of Christian abuse, excuse to abuse, against Judaism, against Jews. Remember, even plenty of times in history, in the 1400s, Spain drove out all the Jews and also drove out all the Islamics. Just wanted a Christian country, Catholic. So you see the terrorism of religion, of stupidity already, over and over. But schisms happen because you get new insight, new intelligence. You evolve. Now, 500 years before the Jesus story, 500 years beforehand, Shakyamuni Buddha had been a Hindu. But he had an insight. He saw awareness. He made a new path. Made a schism away from Hinduism. And it became Buddhism that we know today. Still know today. Events happen, intelligence happens, changes happen. The old doctrines are reevaluated and found to be lacking, and there's a schism, the development. Even in the Christian, bunch of Christian stories, first it was just all Catholic. But along comes Martin Luther. He's a Catholic, but he starts a reevaluation. He sees a bunch of fraud, massive fraud, that the Catholic Church system was perpetuating against the people. Catholic system was intentionally keeping the people illiterate, intentionally giving them fear-mongering, ignorances. And Martin Luther makes a schism, a new direction. It becomes Lutheranism. Lutherans would then become the whole range of what we call, they still call Protestant. Even though the word itself spells out as Protestant. And whether you're Baptist or Methodist or all those other things, Episcopalians or all these things, these little fragments, you all came out of the schism of Luther. And now it's time for a big religious schism. A schism away from all of the old toga and sandals, failure and frauds, repressions and ignorances, myths, creation myths. We're in the 21st century, not the 10th. We don't need creation myth. We've been to the moon. We got Hubble Space telescope photos that have looked way out, light years, hundreds of thousands of light years, and on and on, billions upon billions of galaxies. Galaxies. Each galaxy with billions upon billions of stars like our sun. Our galaxy itself has billions and billions of stars as well, just like our sun. And the distances are so immense they have to be measured in light years, traveling at the speed of light continually, every second, for a whole year, and year, and year, and a year, and year, and on, for thousands, and thousands, and millions of light years. And, back here on Earth, we've grown up. We've actually looked at the Earth, dug into the Earth, analyzed the Earth, chemically studied the Earth, aged the Earth with various processes, aged the bones. And we find that the Earth is billions of years old. And that whole species existed. Massive cycles of species that were hundreds of millions of years in their length. And then they faded. And other species groups came in. And now we find the humans seem to only be in the hundreds of thousands, maybe a million, somewhat like us. And all of that does over and over again has pulled the rug out from the myth, the stupidity, has pointed out the ignorance of all those toga and sandals religions about the God, watching, judging, about all the excuses to repress homosexuals, to fabricate marriage, to fabricate all this mythic stuff of really social control, keep you in control. And also because it continues their ignorance about the reality. 21st century is showing quite clearly. So it's time for a big schism away from all that toga and sandals, mythic ignorance. Leave it behind. Come into the light of the 21st century. Many, many, many of you already get it. Are already there. Already know. And you're in this kind of wobbling thing about you just don't need to believe about all that mythic God stuff. You don't. You just don't. But you haven't heard much in the way of a clarification of 21st century direction. Well, here it is. Society of Sacred Flowers presents the information. Is the massive schism away from all of them that has opened up and stays in the 21st century of where we are now, where we are with science, where we are with intelligence, where we are with environmental wisdom, where we are with what it is to be human. And we're dropping the prohibition aspect of repression. We're dropping the myth repression of segregation. You don't need it. In fact, it's, of course, proven itself to be violent ignorance. Got to let it go. You don't need it. Don't need to continue that direction. Instead, you come into the light. Come into the light of the 21st century. clear of all that crap. There is not a God watching and judging, making a list, checking it twice, find out who's naughty and nice. That's complete fraud. Made up by ignorant people 2,000 years ago who didn't know anything. So everything was drama. Everything was like, oh, why did that happen? Why is there an earthquake? Why was there the volcano? Why was there a flood? And so much of that today has no mythic basis. You're seeing clearly. You're seeing clearly. You're free. That's the 21st century. So what do you have to do in a religious way in the 21st century? What's the distillation down of dropping all that myth and just picking out the good bits? Because there are good bits. There always have been. All been clouded with all this crap around it that has made all that old stuff just a mess, untenable. Justification for segregation, repression, denial. So we just throw out all that crap. What's the distillation in the 21st century? Well, it all comes down to your motivation for action. All action, throughout your whole life. Be a benefit to others. There's your path for your whole life. There's what you do in business. There's what you do in just day-to-day interaction with people. There's what you do in relationships. There's what you do with your parent to child. Be a benefit to others. There's what you do if you're rich. There's what you do if you're poor. Be a benefit to others. Your basic motivation for all action. And there's your purpose as well. It's the action of your purpose for being alive. Because the other, issue always has been the fear of the old toga and sandals crowd. What's the purpose? The recognized awareness, being alive. Recognize the inevitability of death. And so inevitably, of course you go, if we're going to die anytime, what's the point? What are we doing? Why are we here? What's the purpose? Well, in a purely biologic overview, is there a purpose to a dog, a cat, an elephant, a tiger? Is their lifespan any different than yours? They're born here, they live here, they die here. They raise their family, train their kids. Then the parents die, and the kids take over and do the same thing, raise a family, live for a while, and die here. Just like you. But you say, but wait a minute, we're humans. Your basic awareness is no different than any other of those living species. But you've seen that you can make matters worse. And how do you do that? By your motivation being driven by profit. Got to make a profit. Profit. Then you don't care about ethics, justice, humanity. Just, did you make a profit? And with that comes violence, aggression, poison, pollution, destruction of the whole planet for profit. So you can see there is a motivation that leads you through life, that also then reflects your idea of purpose. Well, your purpose also is compassion, happiness, joy, love, sexual excitement and fulfillment, kindness, cooperation, those type of things. And when you have those type of things going on not only in your life, but all the people around you, it's guaranteed that your community is a much nicer, happier, loving, safe, secure, healthy community, society, country. If you choose poison and pollution, if you choose aggression, if you say Ayn Rand, dominant of the individual at all costs, nobody else matters, well, what do you expect's going to happen? You know it happens. Gangsters, mobs, violence, corporate tyranny, Republican fascism, religious right-wing nut fascism, segregation, repression. And your community becomes fearful, violent, angry, destructive, polluted, cancerous. Guaranteed. You've already seen it. Cause and effect. So 21st century awakening says, time for a schism. Drop all that toga and sandals, poison and pollution. Poison and pollution economics. Poison and pollution mentality. Motivation of money, profit, aggression, domination. Set that aside because you've seen the outcome. Disaster, violence, starvation, overpopulation. You come into the 21st century of clarity, wisdom, compassion, intelligence, knowing what we know now. Come into the light. Be a benefit to others.